So good.
The
I'm gonna be
broadcast is live.
sniffing the whole time. You're gonna be touching your titties the whole
Be
time.
titting.
I tried to get the ear again, and then I tried to have a man do it, and I'm like, fuck, we can't do it.
Wait.
So I'm like, well,
I brought my big one so I could
me?
show you how it works. So
Okay.
you have to keep the gap like just open enough, and then the bead has
Those little dents in it.
Yes. So you have to hold it like that so that the divots are on each side. And then what I do is I hold the hoop, and it's not easy to do on yourself, but I'll put, I don't know if you can see it, like one dent in, and then you'll just push it and it clicks the other side in.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. It's just my stupid.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. It's so tiny. It's way tiny, you know? I left
Yes.
the thing up. But then I was like, you know what I'll do? What I think I'll do is I'll just go get another piercing, and then I'll have the person who does another piercing do
Perfect.
that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'll
win
do that.
Win.
Get another. I'm so edgy and hardcore, so I might as well get one more piercing.
Yeah, you're a Terminator, mommy.
Love it. How's it? Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I just went on Twitter and I shared the live stream or whatever.
Oh, good, thank you.
Yeah.
I think it might be going to Twitter too as well. On the way it does that. Is it starting to get hot down there?
Yes, it's been in the like low 90s in like midday here. Yeah.
This means pool season starting though, right?
Yes, but we don't have a pool, and my only friend with the pool is Jeremy Todd, and he is moving.
Ugh.
Yes. So we cannot have any more corgi pool parties. It's a tragedy.
Crazy. Let me say, hey, Constantine Carpenter in the chat. You're going to love this tonight, everyone. I'll let her introduce herself in a minute. But so I have a bunch of gun guys that follow me and like participate on the YouTube. So I'm like, they're going to love you tonight, especially when we talk about all that. So
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
good. I don't know. You could go ahead and start introducing yourself. There's people in here now if you want.
Oh, sure. Hi, my name is Lauren Liberty. If you follow me on Twitter, that's how you can find me. And I actually ended up making a website too. It's laurenliberty.com, so you can find my stuff on there too. Yeah, so like when everything happened with the Arizona legislation, and I wrote that op-ed piece, I didn't have anywhere to publish it, so I was like, I'll just publish it myself. So I just ended up making a website and just gonna put everything on there. So I put all of the interviews and stuff that I've done about it on there and whatnot. So
very nice. So you're down in Arizona.
Yes.
In the LP, and lately you've been really focused on gun rights. I don't know if you want to just start talking about that, because I don't know, they were just starting to try to pass stuff, and that's how you started getting involved, right?
Yeah, so actually, being the second vice chair of the Arizona Libertarian Party, one of my, we actually have like delegated responsibilities written into our bylaws. And one of mine is actually keeping an eye on the legislature. And thankfully, that's something that I'm a super nerd about. Like, I love it. I could read bills and all that all day long. I don't know why, it just clicks in my brain. And then I try to have the AZLP do as many in-person events as we can. And here in Arizona, there's not a whole lot going on from usually like the end of April, early May until it gets cooled down again, probably like September-ish. So I've just been pushing for us to do as many in-person events for stuff that's relevant to the party so that we can meet people where they're at, because libertarians get a really bad reputation, and there's, some of it's true. There's a lot of infighting. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
You're kind of dorky.
Yeah. So, I always like to kind of meet people where they're at. So one of the big events that we did was the annual Second Amendment rally, which they have in Phoenix on the Capitol lawn. And it was really cool. Last year we didn't get to go because the board had just been elected, like, I want to say 2.5 weeks prior, and we just did not have anything together enough to have been able to do it. So I made it a point that as soon as information came out about this year's, like, we have to have a booth there. We need to have a presence there. I'd heard great things about it. So whatever. We went, and of course, me being just like a super social and talkative person, I was just kind of making rounds. I was just walking around and talking to people. And this one group that I had met, it's called the DC Project. And what it is aimed towards educating and supporting women in gun rights, because gun rights are women's rights too. You know, I met a lot of really great people through there, and our Arizona state coordinator, her name is Cheryl Todd, she had invited us to come up to the Arizona Senate Judiciary Committee hearing to speak on 2 bills that were actually going to be voted on that day. And I was like, sure, I had the day off, and it was something that I'd never done before, and it was 2 bills that I was like, yeah, I would be happy to speak in support of that. And so one of the bills was allowing a loaded firearm to be kept in your vehicle on school grounds. And basically the idea behind that was like parents that were picking up their kids could get charged with a crime if they forget to stop their vehicle and unload their firearm before they pick their kid up or drop them off at school. So that was, a pretty uneventful testimony for that one. And then there was another bill that it's kind of complicated, but the basic gist of it was that it would expand the amount of places that somebody with their concealed carry permit could legally carry without it being considered a crime. So that means like public buildings and public spaces and at public events. So anywhere that you see a sign that says no firearms allowed, if somebody has their concealed carry, it wouldn't apply to them and they wouldn't have to even worry about it. You can just walk on by. For Arizona being a constitutional carry state, people who have gone the extra step to get their concealed carry permit are doing it because they are responsible gun owners. So why wouldn't people be granted that right to just, hey, don't worry about it. You should be able to carry here.
You already went through all the paperwork, and you went through all the extra work to get
fingerprinting, background check, all of that. Absolutely. So I was like, yeah, awesome. I would love to speak on that too. And I had written out a statement. And when I was writing the statement, I kind of realized that particular bill did have a bigger meaning to me than just convenience or just exercising my Second Amendment right. And there was an instance that had happened where I didn't have my firearm on me because I was respecting the law and I was going to be in a public space that didn't allow me to have it. And I was actually stalked by somebody through a social media app, and he tried to abduct me. And because...
When was this?
This was a few years back.
Okay.
Yeah. And so for me, being like having health issues and being differently abled, I don't like to use the term disabled. I think that that is a very negative term because I'm still able. I can still do things. I can still walk. But if I were to try to throw a punch at somebody, I would probably break my hand and not do any damage to the person. Or if I were to try to run away, I could very easily break or sprain my ankle or whatever and then be screwed because now I'm injured and I definitely can't get away. So my right to be able to defend myself is very important, and I have to be able to use tools of self-defense because I physically can't I can't take jujitsu and do fucking martial arts. Like I can't. I physically cannot do that. So I got up, and because there were so many people that were speaking against it and in favor of it, there was a 1.5 minute limit on testimony. So that in itself is kind of stressful because you want to be able to get up there and make your point heard and not be able to get cut off in the... I don't either. Get cut off in the middle of your testimony, right? Thank you.
He was commenting weird stuff on some of my other videos the other day too, and I meant to block him anyway. So
I'm talking in support of gun rights, but okay, lefty, whatever.
He called Heidi a commie and all this stuff too. And it was funny because she was saying people call me commie, and then I'm like, okay, you idiot, like you're just
anyway. So I ended up being the last person called up to testify. And there was a bunch of people before me. There was a lot of people against it, and there was a decent amount of people for it. But one of the people that spoke against it was somebody from Moms Demand Action. So that's the red t-shirts. They show up to these things, whatever. And this person had testified. They didn't speak of anything out of personal experience, but they just said, oh, well, there are victims of domestic abuse and victims of assault and blah, blah. Len, just to clarify, I just explained why I can't train to fight. I have a disorder where I have a connective tissue disorder, and I would end up just hurting myself. Anyway, so she says that people who have been victims of violence, something to the effect of shouldn't have to be around firearms. And now, when I was going to go up for my testimony, I had actually forgotten my written statement. Like, I tried to save it, it didn't save, and I didn't print it out, so I had forgotten to even bring a backup copy of it. So I just had to wing it, and I wasn't going to talk about my story because I was like, whatever. I didn't really feel like, it wasn't a thing that's okay, Len, I forgive you. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really going to talk about it because it was something that not even my family knew about. My husband had known about it, and like a very few people had known about that abduction attempt. So I was like, do I really want to like talk about that? Because what if it gets out and then people are like, oh, why didn't you want to make a big deal about it? But when I heard that person from Moms Demand Action get up there and say that people who have been victims of abuse shouldn't have to be around firearms, I was like, well, fuck that. That's exactly why I wanted to carry a firearm. That's a huge reason why, for me being from New York, you can't defend yourself in New York. It's impossible to defend yourself in that state. It's a fucking police state. There's nothing in your favor if you're assaulted and you even use something like a pen to stab somebody with. Well, now you're going to probably catch charges too because you use that as an assault weapon. So my right to be able to defend myself meant a lot. So I was like, fuck that. I'm going to get up there and I'm going to take that person's testimony and I'm going to turn it on its head. So I opened with, I've been a victim of sexual assault. I've been a victim of domestic abuse, and I refuse to be a victim again. That's why I got my concealed carry permit, and I've had my concealed carry for the last 10 years, and I've never harmed anybody. I don't carry because I'm looking to shoot somebody. I carry because I don't want to be harmed. And I said, I had my cane and I held my cane up and I said, not for nothing, I'm differently abled. I don't have the privilege of running away. I like to use these terms that the left uses and I like to turn it against them. So I don't have the privilege of running away and calling for the police to come and help me or calling somebody to come and help me. So, it's one of those things that like I would use the term ableist, right, to combat what that senator replied to me. Like, well, that's a very ableist, because I like to take those little keywords that they throw around and send them right back to them because the hypocrisy is so immense. So that senator, Democratic Senator Lupe Contreras, after my testimony ended, I didn't even speak for the full minute and a half because then I got into my story about the abduction attempt and I was getting choked up talking about it because it's a very surreal thing to talk about these things, because if you don't talk about it, it's almost like it didn't happen and your mind forgets about it and it just pushes it back. And when you talk about these things, it becomes very real again. And it is also very weird to hear yourself on a microphone talking about it. Right. So it was very, very trippy. And then here I am talking to complete strangers that I've never met a day in my life. And I started to get choked up talking about the abduction attempt because it was one of the scariest things that has ever happened to me in my life. And not much really scares me. I never once in my testimony said that I was afraid or that I fear for my life or that I'm scared. Not much really scares me, but that was fucking scary. So talking about it, I started to get like, I got a little verklempt and I really didn't want to. And I was like, yield the remainder of my time. I fucking tapped out and I was like, okay, I'm done talking about this. You guys heard enough. And then since I was the last person to testify, the senators were then going to vote. And being that it was just the Judiciary Committee, it was 7 of them. And they are able to just vote. They don't have to explain their vote. And this fucking guy asks the chairman if he can explain his vote. He could have just said no. But he sat there and said, oh, well, I am a proud Democrat and I'm a proud gun owner and I go hunting, but I don't feel the need to carry my gun everywhere because I'm not so scared that somebody's going to shoot me or hurt me or whatever. And I was like, hold on. Is he really saying? It was like one of those moments where I was like, is he really saying this right now after I just got up there? And mind you, I don't even know how to explain it, but sitting there in the audience, essentially, you can't talk, you can't interrupt them, you can't just start talking, you don't get an opportunity to interact again. So I was like, oh, it must be nice to not have to be afraid and to not ever have been assaulted by somebody. That's great for you.
Yeah.
Must be.
Didn't
awesome.
he say something like, if you're scared, stay home, basically?
He sure did. Yeah. Yep. He was like, well, if you're
ready to pull up so we could watch that fucker. But do you have it on your website, by the way? Like all that stuff?
I do. It is. Okay. It's on my website. If you go to laurenliberty.com and I think it's under statements, the video is linked on there. Okay. And it's also on my Twitter. It's pinned to the top. And it's just a little clip of the full testimony, but it's enough to understand how fucking arrogant this guy was, where he was like, oh, well, I mean, if you're so scared all the time, then why even leave the house at that point? Just stay at home behind closed doors. And it was at that point that I was like, I got to do something to let this guy know he is not going to get away with this. So I got up and I marched my ass right to the front row and I sat in the chair right in front of where he was. And he saw me and he said, you could sit there and stare at me all you want, ma'am. I'm not talking about you. Well, who are you talking about? Because you're talking about not just me. And it wasn't just me and my feelings weren't hurt, but I was like, you're literally talking about every single person who chooses to arm themselves for whatever reason. I don't care why somebody wants to arm themselves. It's your right to do so. And that's all you need to say. So he's literally insulting every single person that wants to arm themselves and be able to defend themselves. And I didn't want him to get away with that. And I wanted him to know, like, hey, people are listening to the comments that you're making right now, and they are not going to be forgotten.
Right. Yeah, he was so pompous about it, too. I wanted to reach the screen and slap him. Just like, how can you even say that? As someone like, and I assume he's probably someone who wants to, like, climb the political ladder and, like, eventually have armed security for himself, like...
I have actually had people reach out and say that he does have armed security for himself. So, yeah. I don't feel the need to carry my gun because I got somebody paid to do it.
Exactly.
Like, fuck you. Ugh. Privilege. So, the wonderful women of the DC Project got behind me and they were like, oh, we are not going to let this guy. He just told you to stay at home. So they were like, we're not going to let this guy get away with it. And they put out videos and messaging and they really like put his ass on blast. So much so to the point that he ended up blocking me on Twitter.
Yeah. It's stupid, but that means like That means you have quality things to say that he can't refute, and so he's just going to block you out.
Yes, exactly. And he's even taken it as far as to block anybody else that calls him out, which people have also brought to my attention is technically illegal. There's precedents that elected officials actually cannot block constituents on social media.
Sense.
If they only use their account for private content, then they can. But if they're using their account to promote policy or whatever, to promote their position as an elected official, there has actually been legal precedents set in the courts that they are not allowed to, because now you're violating First Amendment rights. Right. So not only does this fucking guy hate the Second Amendment, he hates the First Amendment too. Something that's very frustrating, because I looked into his district, his legislative district and stuff. He has run unopposed.
Oh.
Yeah. So people say, how do these fucking assholes get in office? That's how. Nobody else runs against them.
And that's why the libertarians have to start doing that now, is just find all the unopposed shit and get in.
Yes.
Do you guys have someone running against him now in his district for the next time, do you know? What year? I don't know when it would come up, but
it would be this year. Actually, we just had our redistricting, which has been a nightmare. So his district has actually changed. So, I mean, if we can find somebody even to run as a write-in candidate against him, I am all for it.
That's good.
I believe his district now is District 22. So if you're in LD 22 in Arizona, hit me up.
Yeah. It was great out here in Colorado. I think we got at least 81 people that are going to be running in Colorado. So it's like, whatever comes of it, whatever. But it's like, at least we have these people who are willing to put in the time.
Yeah.
Are you going to run for anything else for the state?
I was thinking about, I might fuck around and find out. I might do like a little write-in campaign just because I want to show that we are a serious party. That was also a big reason why.
You just posted that the other day. You posted something.
Okay. Yeah. So that was like a big reason why I also wanted to just show up at the legislatures, because I want to show, like, hey, we're not just Republicans that want to smoke weed. Like, we want to get shit done, and we want, maximum freedom for everyone. Freedom is not conditional, and it's just this constant push and pull between the right and the left, and they're always wanting to take somebody's freedoms away for one reason or another, and there's no in between. Like, everything is radicalized. So I want to show up, and I just want to say, hey, we are going to fuck around and find out.
Hell yeah.
That's my campaign slogan.
I like it. You'd have my vote, of course.
Thank you.
Did you do a lot of going down to the legislator before this? Had you been down, like, talking a lot, or at least just watching them?
That was my first time ever going when I testified that one day. And then I did go back again, and I testified again in favor of another bill that would automatically restore rights to people that have completed their sentencing, I said that burden should fall on the state. The state is the one taking these rights away from people. The state should be the one that's burdened with giving these people their rights back and automatically restoring them. And that actually ended up passing in the Senate as well. So all of the bills that I spoke in favor of, all three did pass the Senate Judiciary Committee. They all did go onto the governor's desk. I just don't know if any of them have actually been signed yet.
Right. It's such a process, man. It's so like, I've been trying to learn about that too, because that's what we need to do in Colorado more, is just show up at the legislature anyways, whether it's for something we care about or not, start talking to people, start schmoozing, start like seeing who's there, like all this stuff. And I've been learning how we start writing our own bills and like the PACs and all that stuff. And it's like, I'm like, but the first step is I just need to fucking go down there. And I'm like, I don't want to go down there around those like rat fucks and stuff, but like I need to.
It's very frustrating because there is a lot of times where you're like sitting there in the gallery and you're like, like I really want to say something right now, or like I could do a much better argument for or against that bill or whatever. But it is good to get comfortable even just going and just observing. You don't even have to go and speak. here in Arizona, we actually have a really cool program that's online. It's called Request to Speak, and you can actually find all of the bills that are currently being heard in the session, and you can also leave a comment online. So you don't even have to actually go in person. Right. It holds more weight, of course, if you go in person and testify, but you can just vote either against or, in favor of, and you can leave a comment as to why. And so many, it's weird because like all of these special interest groups do it. I was actually I was just reading up about the Request to Speak program itself, and I stumbled upon like a tennis group that was like, get on the Request to Speak and support this bill. And I was like, okay, go off, tennis group. Like, good for you.
Yeah, that's the thing is there's all these other people who are active and doing stuff. And I guess it's just part of the process too with me getting more active in general with like the party and whatnot. Is
sure.
Like, you just gotta do it.
Yes. And that is like 99% of it is just doing it and just getting people to show up too. Mm-hmm. It's definitely frustrating to see how, at least here in Arizona, but I'm sure it's the same elsewhere, being a smaller party, it's frustrating to see how well organized the other two are. Like, the Republicans and the Democrats here have lists and lists and lists of people just that are activated on the RTS system that can just go in and just fucking spam for or against, and they put out these things, these like guides where they pretty much tell people what bills to support and what bills to oppose, which I'll do calls to action and say, hey, if you want to support it, great. If you don't support it, then don't reach out. I don't care. But they don't even say like, hey, if you don't support this, cool. It's basically, if you don't support this, you're not a fucking Democrat or you're not a like they like shame people into supporting or coming out against these bills. But the organization is insane. They have it to a science. And I've been sort of trying to learn from the two big parties on how can we get something similar as far as organization goes and mobilizing the troops. I mean, really, kind of like somebody said in the comments, like there's people out there that want to get involved, but they may not necessarily know how. And that is the biggest step, really, first and foremost, just show up.
Yeah, that is the biggest step. Like even for like a year and a half dealing with the COVID stuff, it still took me that long to start showing up and like with the party and stuff. So it's like, if you're like, and I was a somewhat political person. So if you're not political at all and you're like looking around at what's going on and you're like, yeah, you have no idea where to start. You're just like,
yeah. I have had so many people reach out to me where they're like, hey, I want to get more involved in the party. What can I do? Or how do I get started? And my answer is always just, we have this meeting or this, gathering or this event. Just show up. That's it. Just show up. And if there's something that we need done, we'll ask somebody to, if somebody's available to do it. That's really it. Just fucking show up.
Yeah, and especially at social events, too, because I've had people, and they're like, I'm not that political. And I'm like, you don't even really have to be. Just show up.
No.
Because, everyone just wants someone to talk to that's at least somewhat on the same mindset, right? Like, everyone just needs people to talk to in the first place. And then it goes from there. And it's like, it's grown and it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do see a huge jump in participation. I think just leading by example too. Like, I have gone to almost every single event that we've had since I was elected to my position, because how can I expect other people to give up a Saturday or, give up an entire Sunday off or whatever and go to these events if I'm not even doing it?
Right. No, it's true. It's true. And then in the end, people like meet people and it's all good. Like,
yeah,
I like it. So you're vice chair. So did you get voted vice chair this year or last year? You said
2021. It was 2021.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it 2 years?
I've
been learning. I learned so much this year because I went to your guys' convention. Which was it? Did you guys have like a big show up for actual Arizona people for your guys' convention?
That was actually the biggest convention we've ever had. We had the most
Ours
people show up.
I guess across the country, they're all the most people are at least showing up,
yes.
coming.
Yes. And I will say I got to give a lot of credit to Mises. Like a lot of the folks that showed up were Mises people, and it was amazing to see that many people show up. And the other thing is ours was in Tucson, which it's usually on non-election years. It's I don't know. There's some weird law about it. It's usually in Phoenix, and it's usually bigger when it's in Phoenix because more people live in that area, and not a lot of people want to go out to Tucson. So for us to have had a convention in Tucson and have had the biggest turnout, that speaks volumes as to just the energy within the party and interest in just showing up. So I thought that was really incredible.
Yeah, I think silver lining with all the crap that happened over the last 2 years, it is just like some people are waking up and like, oh, there is kind of another choice. And like my whole thing is too, like in the end, if this political process will work or won't work for us, like whatever, I kind of like I've tried to be positive about it, right? But it's like, whatever. But I'm like, but we at least the Libertarian Party already has, they've at least made the path. They're in the political path. So we might as well try using it if we can. Like if it's going to work, we might as well try it, right? Like
Exactly. And that's very much where I'm at because if I wasn't a libertarian, I don't really know where the hell I would go. I'm not trying to start my own party because the duopoly makes it very, very difficult for third parties to become as big as the LP actually has. There's a reason why we're the third largest party, and you don't really hear much about the Greens or any of the other parties. Nothing against the other parties, but it's just a task. I mean, and that's by design. The big two are threatened by third parties, especially now. In Arizona, our voter base, the biggest increase in voter registrations was independent. Independent voters make up a third of Arizona right now. All the other big three parties lost.
That's good to hear.
It is because people are waking up and they're like, okay, this isn't working.
Yeah, because they're voting, like, they're like, oh, I was a Democrat all my life, but now, like, the schools are being weird to my kids. And it's like, so everyone's kind of getting pushed. So, yeah, that's good. And Arizona overall was kind of like, it's kind of decent politically overall, right?
I would say so. I would say, actually, one thing that I was kind of surprised about Arizona is how kind of libertarian it already is here. There's a lot of like licensing that you don't need. I was just talking to somebody the other day that is a vet tech, I believe, and she said that there's like no licensing to become a vet tech. I'm a professional body piercer. There's no licensing for that in Arizona. So Arizona is kind of an interesting place. The last election, 2020, and I don't know if it's all the people moving here from other states, mostly California, but we have gotten a big influx of Democrats here, which, I mean, the Republicans here are doing some crazy shit too. So it's just, we need.
But it's good your guys are like there. It's because it's the same stuff here. All the blue people started moving in Denver and Boulder, obviously. But like when you talk to people, when you are out from the city a little bit, when you're talking to people, even if they're like GOP, they really are more on the libertarian side. Like, they're more leave me alone. That's how Colorado always, and I'm sure Arizona was saying, it was like live, let live state. Let me just do what I'm going to do, and. But it is hard because once you get the city, all these people in the city voting a certain way, then they kind of overwhelm everywhere else. And so it's like, it is hard to get that. So that's why it's like important for people like you to be like, hey, look, like you still have your guns. We love guns.
Yeah.
I like piercing. I do tattoos and piercing and like well-rounded.
Yeah. Like do whatever you want. I don't care. When I actually went to turn in my paperwork for the precinct committee member election at the election center in Phoenix, there was this guy that was parked next to me and he was getting into his car, and I have a Challenger, and so my doors are huge. So I didn't want to like open my door and bump into this guy. So I was like, hey, are you you good? You have enough room? And he turns around and I had my like AZLP t-shirt on, and he saw that and he was like, oh, you're a libertarian? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, how much of a libertarian are you? And I was like, I'm the second vice chair of the state board, so I guess I'm pretty much in the shit. And we actually had a really long conversation. Like me and this completely random guy were talking for probably about 45 minutes. Come to find out, he's sort of like the Liberty Republicans is a very big thing here in Arizona. And I came to find out he was very like liberty Republican leaning, and he actually was one of the he was the vice chairman of one of the Republican legislative districts. So he was like pretty involved in the party too. And he was saying how he feels like a lot of the Republicans are very libertarian leaning. And I'm like, yeah. So just cut
come
the
over.
Join us. Come to the dark side.
But everyone's so trained. Oh, if you vote for third party, then
it's a waste. Blah blah blah. Yeah.
It's gonna make other bad people win, and
I know.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Well, thank you for all the work you do. I'm so glad that we've met in person, and like I'm so proud of you for all the work you do. You're inspiring to me. I need to do more too, so that's good.
Thank you. And you are an inspiration to me as well. I see you always posted them hot takes on the Twitters, and I love it. And I'm so glad that I have been able to become friends with you. Really.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I'm like Waffle said, and he's like, people make fun of the social club, but it's like, yeah, but it's friends. It's making friends.
Yeah, and I think that says a lot about because there are so many different people in the LP, right? And like, yeah, we can fucking be friends because I don't give a fuck. You do you, I'm gonna do me, and we're gonna talk about shit that we agree on, and that's it. Like,
yeah, we're not gonna tell each other how to live their lives. We're just gonna like, whatever.
Period. Very bad.
And especially with the COVID too, I lost some communities with COVID, basically. Like I had friends that just like, whatever, they lost their minds. So that's all it was. But
yeah.
What is he saying? He's one of those brainwashed people. Oh, about the waste of the thing. Well, you just have to start somewhere. I mean, you have to just keep, because didn't Joe get the most votes libertarians ever gotten for a presidential election?
She got the second most.
Oh, second.
Okay. Gary Johnson got the most, but she got the second highest. I mean, that's a big deal. So I actually worked for I say worked like I got a fucking paycheck, but I worked for the Joe Jorgensen campaign, and I did text banking. I was the Arizona State text banking director or whatever. So I was texting people all over the country, messaging with them, talking about like, hey, who are you voting for? Blah, blah. And I got a lot of people saying, well, I would vote libertarian, but this year's just too important and I don't want to waste my vote. And my response is, a wasted vote is a vote for a person that doesn't represent you. That is the definition of a wasted vote to me. And if less people felt a wasted vote was going to a third party, things would change. But it doesn't. They fall into that two-party system. And if I had a nickel for every person that I spoke with that said that they didn't like Biden, they weren't voting for Biden, they were just voting against Trump, that's a wasted vote right there, because look at what the fuck that got us.
Right.
So, and even, I mean, if you're talking like numbers wise, here, it's kind of funny because the margin of between the Democrats and the Republicans was almost exactly the amount of libertarian votes there was. But that just goes to show it does make a difference. It's not a waste. To me, it's not a waste because I voted for a candidate that I felt good voting for.
Right. Yeah, if we're going to vote, that's my whole thing. Like, because I always hated voting. So I'm like, if I'm going to vote, if I'm going to throw it in, I might as well like the person.
Right. And the thing that kind of drives me, I can go off on a whole tangent about this, but there are a bunch of states that don't have any laws for faithless electors. So a person that is your representative, it doesn't even matter if the popular vote is for, let's say the popular vote was for Trump, but your elector that was, represented in the Electoral College didn't want to vote that way. They didn't have to. They can grandstand. Right. And there's no repercussion for betraying your constituents. So if you think about it, if you want to be real serious about it, kind of all votes are wasted votes, but still vote anyway.
Right. It doesn't hurt us. Someone mentioned the ranked choice voting. You know all about the ranked choice voting stuff, don't you?
I know a bit about ranked choice voting. There was a huge initiative here. There still is a huge initiative here to bring ranked choice voting to Arizona. What I didn't realize, and it's kind of confusing, is that there's a bunch of different styles of ranked choice voting. And then certain types of ranked choice voting requires open primaries, which here in Arizona, the Libertarian Party does closed primaries. We don't have open primaries because that makes us super vulnerable to like carpetbaggers and people just trying to fuck with the party, which because the Republicans here hate us a lot, that is a very big possibility. But ranked choice voting is probably the most fair system of voting. It is just very confusing. Yeah. I am not even well versed enough to even begin to explain how it works.
I know. I was like, explain it again. At the thing out here in Colorado, when they were kind of that, those guys were talking about it, is like, can you explain it again?
Like, yeah, and there are different. So there's like top 3, there's top 5, and what I actually spoke to the like head of the head of the Voter Choice Arizona here, and because I didn't understand it, so I had like a little meeting with him, whatever, and he wanted us to endorse them, but I was like, well, the AZLP is not going to go all gung-ho if you guys are going to have are going to push for the style of voting that requires open primaries and only has 3 choices. Because I was like, who's to say that those 3 choices wouldn't be 3 Democrats or 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat, that like the Libertarians wouldn't even end up being on the ballot? How is that beneficial to us as a third party? So it is kind of weird, and I would say definitely, yeah, math is not, numbers not good. I'm not a smart man. So I would say for anybody that is curious about ranked choice voting and there is an initiative in your state or your county, just make sure that you find out exactly what style of ranked choice voting they're pushing for before you endorse that, because some of them could actually come back to bite third parties in the ass.
It's true. Totally unrelated, but how are the doggies?
They're good. They are in their bedroom right now because it never fails that Tyrion starts barking his head off every single time I do a podcast. It never fails.
I have a friend, I've met her through Twitter. It's Laura, or Library Wolf is what she goes by. But she has she's Corgi, Australian cattle dog.
Oh yeah, I think they call those cowboy corgis, and they're so cute.
So cute. She's just got got the ears, but like she's got the colors of the Australian cattle dog, but like it's so small. Like legs are so short. Like it's like so short.
Yes, and because the Aussies are smaller in general, they're just.
Yeah, she's thick like a tank. And she like when she walks, she kind of like hops.
Oh my god, I love that.
I know, she's so cute.
A corgi mixed with anything is pretty much guaranteed to be freaking cute.
Yeah, we were looking up corgi Rottweiler mixes.
Oh my gosh. Oh, have you seen corgi and golden retriever mix?
Oh my god, no. I'll have to look that up.
You must. So I have a quarter.
I love it.
Oh, identify as neither.
I don't know.
I don't get it.
I don't know. Neither. Maybe. I don't know.
Like independent? I'm
not participating. I don't know.
It's kind of weird because in Arizona they actually have like I believe it's just called no party or no affiliation. They don't. It's technically not called independent, which is interesting. Weird.
That is interesting. Weird. That's all right. I had a lot of fun when I was down there in January, so.
It's awesome. I love it. I was so glad that you were able to
come down party.
Yes.
Like, I just going to party.
Yes. It was amazing.
It was a good time. It's good to see you guys.
Yeah.
I don't know anything else you want to talk about. It could be libertarian, could be anything. Your health. I don't know.
Wait, there was something that I wanted to tell you earlier and I completely forgot because we talked about so many other things. Incognito.
Yeah, that's what they're short like a corgi, but they look like other stuff. I'm gonna look up the golden retriever.
Oh my gosh, you have to, because I think I need one.
Yeah, I mean you might as well.
Yeah.
But either way,
I was so close to signing up to foster one of those freaking pigs the other day.
Ah, at the yoga thing you did.
Yes. Yes.
So were they were like the potbelly pigs or whatever that like you can have the house and stuff.
Yeah, most of them were. They had actually a bunch of like farm pigs that are fucking huge. They're like a Cadillac, dude. I did not realize that pigs got that big. Oh, Denison, yes. I was actually talking about that earlier, how no party saw the biggest increase in voter registrations for the entire state of Arizona. It's about almost, it's like 33.5% voters are now no party. So it's one of those things where like I want to also do these events and make our presence known to try to get those people that are disenfranchised by the Democrats and the Republicans and say like, hey, there is a third option and we're out here doing the damn thing. Like we're legit. Come party with us.
That's always party. Was that 2A event? Who was that like put on? Who's it put on by? Typically like just a 2A group kind of.
So it actually is a biker group. They're called Writers USA, and so it was like a nonpartisan thing, which was really cool. I was really excited to have seen that was put on by them, and they were so nice. They were super welcoming. They were very happy to have us there. They sent me this awesome little like lapel pin that it's like the shape of Arizona, and it said 2022 2A rally. It was so cute. They sent it as like a thank you thing for having a booth there or whatever. I thought that was really nice.
Oh, hey, Tactical in the chat. Terribly Tactical is awesome. He's in Illinois. They had to go to the courthouse on Wednesday to fight some guns. I mean, it's Illinois, so kind of got a lot to fight there. But
yes, definitely. Howdy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's laughing because all his friends come to my streams now.
Well, we have tits. I mean. Yeah.
Well, you do. I'm like,
opposite.
I love it. No, he's good, dude. And good people like us too. Like just good people. Tactical is good people. Oh, let's see. Do not have mass appeal. Libertarians hate everything that ours are there to do. Not that we hate it. It's just that they've used the state to absolutely steamroll everybody from each side. You know what I mean?
Yes, agree. It's not that we hate, the 3 bills that I went down to the legislature to support were written by the Republicans. So, no, we don't hate everything that the Republicans and Democrats do, but we're going to call them out on the bullshit because the hypocrisy is there. And, you get these Republicans that want to talk about freedom, America. And then they enact all of these laws that are completely infringing on people's freedom. And then you have the Democrats that are just almost even more hypocritical, and it's even more offensive, in my opinion, because they're the party that tries to pretend like they fucking care about people.
Right. Yeah, it's so sneaky. As if it's such a, I don't know, your all realization of life, but it has been, for me just to be oh, yeah, the left was, they care about people and freedom, and then, nope, that was wrong.
No, not at all. Right. If it saves just one life, unless that means you want to carry a gun, and then fuck your life.
Right. Yeah, then you should just stay home, honey.
Yeah, just stay home.
Okay. What is it? I was just going to say, oh, yeah, that I made this statement the other day, and I'm I need to craft it better and kind of, figure it out. But I'm I want my goal, like I said, whether the political process works or not, I want my goal to slow the pendulum, to hang on that pendulum and keep it from going. So,
yes.
As it comes back, I want us to grab it and
yes.
Keep it still, or
yes.
At least keep it minimal. But I don't know how to do that, but that's kind of my goal. Cause I know I can't one way or the other. I can't make crazy changes, but I'm if we could, and I know this is funny because I hate the super right libertarians are we have to control the culture, blah blah blah, and I'm well, yeah, we have to kind of control the culture, but not like you want to do it.
Yeah, no,
not the forcing of one culture on everybody. It's this culture of chilling out, stop going so far each direction, right?
Exactly. And that was something that I had talked about the other day, is that being a centrist or being a moderate is seen as you don't care enough to have a strong opinion or take a very extreme radicalized view on something. But it's being a centrist is how you literally meet people in the middle and say okay, well, if you feel that way, that's cool, but it's not your right to push that feeling on somebody that feels the complete opposite way. So I don't really know how moderates and centrists got such a fucking bad name. And if you're not radicalized, you don't give enough of a fuck to seem like you care about anything, which is ridiculous.
I guess we just have to like radical centrist, where instead of being like, yeah, do whatever you want, it's like, yeah, we have to be like, yeah, you can do what you want, but you're not going to force it on everyone. I like force it on people and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Simple concept.
Yeah, just like, well, that's the thing. I can understand like how just with the schools and stuff that's going on in the schools is because, these people are like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. And then like, it just gets taken out of control every time. And
yes,
you can't like control it. Once the horse is out of the barn, it's so much harder. And like, and if this whole neo-Marxism stuff is like, taking over, and then they've been working on this for decades, just like, the New World Order. This has all been decades planning. So.
Yes. It's very scary to actually see that stuff come to fruition now when, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, you were a crazy conspiracy theorist if you thought that. And now it's like, that actually tracks. We were just a decade ahead of the game. We saw the fucking forest through the trees, man.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. What are we going to do? We got to we're just trying to bring the Blessed Mother energy. And,
I wore my naked witch dress to bring that blessed. You can't really see them.
The little,
I don't know.
we can see them.
I can't see anything.
I love it. Well, we're almost at an hour. Do you want to like plug some more of your stuff? Say your website and all that stuff again.
Oh yeah, sure. So it's laurenliberty.com. And then if you just look up Lauren Liberty on yeah, they're there.
I beat that joke, although it's a delay. But I got the joke in first, Denizen.
And then it's Lauren_Liberty_ on Twitter. So you can follow me there and like all of my shit posts. I don't know, corgi posts, political hot takes. He really is. And he knows it. That's the worst part about it. He knows.
They always know it. Little shit.
He does.
So if anyone's watching and is in Arizona and wanting to get involved, hit Lauren up. Because we need everybody. Any last little tidbits?
I got 2 of them right here. Tidbits. I need a YouTube. All right. I've been thinking about it. I used to do a true crime podcast and it was really fun and I enjoyed doing it. And then she was like super liberal and stopped talking to me because I didn't want to get vaccinated or I don't know. Shit got weird. So then the podcast was a no-go. So I would like to do some sort of podcast thing for you guys.
That's why Tactical, he pushed. The only reason I'm doing it is because of him too, because he's like, fucking do it. He's such a guy.
Yeah, sometimes you just need somebody to be like, just shut the fuck up and do it.
Yeah. I love it. But then then he's always laughing because he's like, "Now I'm too big for him."
Oh like, man, you flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, so you definitely need to start up. Oh yeah.
For sure. I'm off on Sundays, so I would love to join you. Absolutely.
You should do it. They're so much fun with him, and like it's silly. And
wait, was that the one that you were on the other day and you had the glasses on?
Yeah, I wear my glasses a lot.
I watched it. I was like, look at mommy. She looks so cute.
I know. The nighttime ones, especially if I'm drinking, I'm like, oh, we're just gonna put these glasses on.
Because my eyes are like gone.
I'm like out of it. All right. Well, if anything else tonight, you will start a new YouTube channel. So
all right. I will do it. I promise.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching and tuning in, and thanks, Lauren, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.